Mr Speaker, I rise today in support of World Teacher Day and the motion that this House notes that 26 October is World Teachers Day and expresses its appreciation to all South Australian teachers and former teachers who have dedicated their lives to helping our next generation to be all they can be. I'd like to add my personal support in acknowledging the important role that teachers play in the role of the development of students around the state of South Australia and add, as I said, my personal thanks to that voice. World Teachers Day was established by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organisation in 1994 and has grown to be celebrated in over 100 countries worldwide, with this year's theme being "The right to education means the right to a qualified teacher." Today's teachers are operating in a complex, fast-paced, multicultural and technological environment, which makes the quality of teaching even more significant in helping our young people to engage with their learning and to realise their potential. The quality of teaching is a significant factor in the success of the student, and effective teachers understand that the learning needs of students vary from one student to the next. We, the Marshall Liberal Government, want South Australian students to be inspired to learn and to continue learning throughout their lives. That's where the commitment of educators is pivotal and why excellence in teaching must be recognised. Narungga is home to what I believe to be the largest school outside of metropolitan Adelaide, Mr Speaker, with a relatively recently amalgamated school, the Kadina Memorial School, which is home to approximately 1,200 students, with over 76 full-time equivalents, putting those students in a position to succeed. Kadina Memorial School services the townships of Alford, Butte, Kadina, Kolpara, Baskerville, Wallaroo and other surrounding districts. Students also transition from 4 primary schools at the end of Year 7, soon to be Year 6, much to the delight of just about every educator I've talked to, Mr Speaker. And these are the Butte Primary School, the St Mary MacKillop Primary School, Wallaroo Primary School and the Wallaroo Mines Primary School. Narungga is also home to another area school, Moonta, which is only 20 kilometres away, yet also hosts a further 500 students on a daily basis. This is in addition to the surrounding primary schools that feed into these area schools. Clearly, there is significant demand on education within the Copper Coast, which this government will need to continue to serve as the demand continues to grow. And I note that there's also the Harvest Christian College, which is a low-fee, non-denomination private school, which operates under the guidance of the brilliant principal, Mr Peter Ayub, who do a wonderful job servicing the over 300 students they also have in their care. So, as I said, there's clearly significant demand, and to the credit of the former government, I will be at the opening of a new STEM facility at the Moonta Area School at the start of the next month. Credit must go to the previous government for commissioning this work, which will include refurbished learning spaces, flexible and creative spaces for IT facilities, CAD design suites, creative team spaces, individual workspaces and design study spaces, which make areas with strong interconnections to larger group work undercover with verandas for use by students at all levels. The covered outdoor learning area are being created to enable hands-on learning and supporting STEM-based curriculum such as environmental sciences. While we have strong demand for educational services in the Copper Coast part of the electorate, Mr Speaker, in other parts of the electorate there is either fluctuating or decreasing demand for these services. Unfortunately, due to low demand for these services, there have been a number of schools closed on the YP in recent times, with the Port Vincent Primary School and Edithburgh Primary School closing as recently as 2006. I note with great interest the Member for Right's contribution to the chamber yesterday about this government hypothesising that this government might have an agenda to close schools. If he had taken the time to type "schools closing South Australia" into Google, he would have come across an article from Tim Williams in a 2015 edition of The Advertiser, which says, "SA losing schools faster than any other state as the government urges more." Mr Speaker, perhaps the Member for Right ought to tend to his own backyard before hypothesising about the direction of this government. I note with great interest that the total number of government schools fell from 588 to 527, or 10%, which is more than double the proportion of public schools lost in any other state, and made up 40% of the national drop in public school numbers over the same period. So the member could get his own affairs in order before he comments on ours. On World Teachers' Day, we acknowledge the wonderful contribution that our local teachers make to the lives of students. Parents entrust teachers with significant responsibility to teach their children the proper way to conduct themselves, the curriculum and social interactions. While we acknowledge the important role that teachers play, it is also worth acknowledging the steps that this government has taken to improve the system within which teachers operate. We'll make it easier for teachers by moving Year 7 students into high school in exactly the same way every other jurisdiction within Australia has done. Of all the teachers I've talked to, and there's been a significant amount since coming to this place in March, I have yet to find one who doesn't support this plan from the government. Our wonderful teachers here in South Australia will finally be able to develop dedicated middle school programs, which research shows is beneficial for students in the Year 7 age group. The program will be able to fall in line with the national curriculum, which calls for Year 7 students to be taught specialist maths, science and English, teachers for which can ordinarily only be found in high schools. We have wonderful specialist teachers here in SA, and on World Teachers' Day we celebrate their contribution, but acknowledge that they need access to the relevant demographic of students where their skills can have the greatest effect. We will attempt to supplement the efforts that our teachers go to in schools by increasing parental engagement in students' learning. Parents overwhelmingly want to be actively involved in their children's learning, and research supports that this involvement is beneficial to the child. Parental engagement and parental support for teachers is key to ensuring that education is holistic and not just done in the classroom. Anything to make it easier for our teachers in this great state, Mr. Speaker. This is in addition to our policy to enshrine a literacy guarantee for students, getting tougher on truancy so that teachers are afforded the opportunity to actually teach those kids, and teaching entrepreneurship in classrooms to prepare them for the changing landscape out there in their post-school life. I also take this opportunity to highlight the calibre of teachers we have working in regional areas. Former Kadina Memorial School Principal Dean Angus won the Public Education Awards Top Leadership Award in 2016, recognising his unique talents and years of dedication to education. This is the first time a teacher from our area has won this coveted award. Also note the esteem of the late Auntie Jo Agius, a highly respected Aboriginal elder who has an award named after her to highlight her pioneering work in South Australian Aboriginal health. She was born at Wallaroo, grew up at Point Pearce, and this award recognises the cultural and community expertise of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people working towards better outcomes for children and young people. I'm also proud of the efforts of many Narungga constituents who teach the Narungga language and are committed to keeping this culture alive for future generations. I'm also proud to be presenting medallions at every school within my electorate, recognising the efforts of students who go above and beyond their learning and have made a significant contribution to their school life. So on this day, we say thanks to our wonderful teachers here in South Australia. We acknowledge the efforts that this government is going to in order to ensure that they can continue to do their job well, and we look forward to our next generation of kids graduating the system. I commend this motion to the House.
Member for Wright.
Thank you very much.